Welcome back, FE12, Lunatic-Reverse, 0% Growths, Chapter 14. I've been putting off doing commentary on this chapter because I really just hate it. Probably my most hated map with Chapter 5 in second place. Give me 20x any day of the week. Give me 19, I don't give a shit. I just hate 14. The map is full of tough dragons that land low percent crits all fucking day. And I complained about that exact thing in my last run, so I know I'm not crazy. It's real. Now that means we'll need to field Minerva and Leiden as Swordmasters, with a new +3 might Wyrmslayer forge, and thankfully, Palla is fast enough to double as a Draco Knight, although both she and Minerva need Scorpio to do so, while Leiden does not. Speaking of Swordmasters, did you know Athena promotes to a Swordmaster with 15 speed? It breaks my heart. Now, the most unfortunate thing here is that my 200 IQ strat for this chapter was already debuted in my Vanilla Hard 3 run, so it would feel disingenuous to put on that same level of hype when, it's not new, you've already seen it, but it is still pretty cool. And by far the best thing about this chapter is we finally get rid of the star shards, which have made my life an absolute hell in planning. Oh, if I don't use Ares for the +1 skill, then this isn't truly optimal, that kind of shit. I'm ready for that to be over. Now, right away is a sort of dick move by the devs. On Hard 3 and 4, this Thief's Droppable Warp Staff is replaced by Fortify. I personally prefer to play without Warp, and Fortify is crucial to beating the game, so I'm actually fine with this. We got a new unit named Zane, who becomes a copy of one of your other units for 5 turns, although he doesn't copy their current health, and thus annoyingly always needs a heal after transforming. In theory, I don't like that he exists, but in this run, he's pretty much essential. Militia seizes a good opportunity to use the Hammerne staff for the second time this run, once again repairing our rescue staff. We aren't ready to pull the dragons down the middle of this building, so we'll just deal with the 2 dragons on the left for now. Now, Leiden's 22 base speed carries with the help of our forged Wyrmslayer, and Palla does Palla things. I was debating forging Hit onto this Dragonpike in 13x. It would be a huge boost to reliability in this chapter, but it's pretty expensive, and I ultimately decided against it. Now, Beck gets danced here because he needs to go grab the attention of all the enemies on the left-hand side of this building, before we can push up the middle. And he is indeed the best man for the job, with slightly more bulk and speed than, say, Horseman George, who would get doubled by the Dark Mages. Marth gets our new Fortify staff from the convoy, hands it off to Militia, while everyone else gets ready to fight next turn. Similar to Beck, Julian is going to grab the attention of the right half of the map with the resistance shards and a pure water. Cord is over here to help manipulate a particular Dark Mage into coming over here, because there's one Dark Mage that's really stubborn, and Cord being here helps him come over. Now Beck puts out some nice counter damage with the Silver Bow, and the first wave of dragons comes down the middle. But look here, because the dragons have 1-2 range on this difficulty, they see Beck and Julian as available easy kill targets, and now they'll waste their time in these side hallways instead of running it down mid like they normally would. 6 bajillion IQ strats, you're welcome. Item management is a little tricky this turn. Palla couldn't start the map with everything she needed, and Minerva needs Scorpio to fight a dragon. So Minerva was holding our forged hand axe, which she now trades to Palla for Scorpio, allowing her to pick up this kill. I actually don't have enough uses on Ninian here to do everything I'd like to do, so instead this second dragon goes to an unforged Wyrmslayer and Beck's Dragonpike. First though, Palla's gonna go take care of a Killing Edge Thief, who, like the dragons, can crit for no reason and ruin your life. We'll get healed up here, including our first Fortify, which it's important to note requires A rank stabs. Militia is the only unit who can do that right now. Julian's job is done, so he and Cord come to rejoin us. Cord would output 1 more point of healing as a Sage holding Aquarius, but it doesn't make a difference in the strat, and I like the visual clarity of not having the same sprite as Etzel. Beck moves on to his second Dark Mage to continue baiting those dragons. This is an amazing spot for Palla, because that Northwest dragon is still going to prefer Beck, and she one-shots a whole bunch of thieves on counter with the Silver Lance. The eagle-eyed among you may have noticed I used the Merge option in preparations to combine 2 lower use Silver Lances, and this is why. I'm glad they put that in this game. I'm going to mash through Palla's attacks here, and I've also been fast-forwarding through level-up screens and mashing through experience gains, just in the interest of time. This is a long chapter. These last 2 thieves have Levin swords, and we're about to also fight some Dark Mages, and that's why Palla got a barrier buff on turn 2. Now Palla equips the Forged Hand Axe, and re-equips the Silver Lance, so that she can convoy warp the Silver Lance and then automatically equip the hand axe because it's next in her inventory. Just one use short of a weapon break setup, but it's fine. The remaining Levensword Thief can kill most of my army, so we're just healing and setting up down here, and positioning Etzel as the target for that Levensword Thief, since even with his high resistance, getting doubled means he's a better target than Palla. Etzel hit C-rank staves just a moment ago on turn 2, and his higher magic than Militia, or Cord, allows this physic to land a lot harder than we're used to seeing. Very nice. And then Beck moves on to his third and final 600 IQ play. Palla unfortunately can't double without Scorpio, but it's still worth. Here, Belf gets an unnecessary low % crit, because that's what FE12 does. And now we gotta deal with these enemies up the hallway. Leiden gets Dance extended to the furthest in the back, who he kills with the Devil Sword. I don't know why I did that immediately after recording 2 videos where I very explicitly say that the Woe Dao has a better success rate than this. It's just a little whoops, but it's like a 4% difference, whatever. I only had to do that in the first place because, once again, I don't have enough uses on Ninian to kill this dragon, so Palla has to kill the dragon. Otherwise, I would just one-shot that mage in the back with Palla. She does need Scorpio to kill this dragon, so Minerva has to come in first and position for the trade. You do have to be very careful not to be in range of Beck's pack across the wall, down here in the lower area, but Etzel is indeed safe here. Militia is also safe, and another Fortify goes out because everyone's in pretty bad shape. Now Beck is done with his first job, and he's going to have to rejoin the others. I think this Vulnerary was unnecessary because more Fortifies are going to go out, so rip to that 60 gold. Runs dead. This turn was one of the major challenges of this chapter, right? Having enough killers close enough to wrap around this wall. But Beck's earlier damage you'd think would help, but it actually wasn't helpful on his first Dark Mage, since Minerva gets hit by the reversal anyway. Her positioning, though, allows Leiden to reclaim Ninian and take out the first dragon. Etzel gets an unnecessary crit for the second mage, so once again, Beck's damage was wasted. Thanks a lot, game. And as you can see, Zane's transformation, like I said, only lasts 5 turns, so he's back to normal, and that added to the challenge of getting all these kills. But who's left for this last mage? Well, who else but a Dance Extended Belf with the Steel Lance? Let's go. And like I talked about in Chapter 13 preparations, Belf is here over someone like Daros, because Belf can use the Dragonpike. Minerva needs a Pure Water next turn, so Marth takes care of that with the Convoy. Zane can't reach Leiden to transform again this turn, but he does hand off the Unforged Wyrmslayer to Minerva. Very important. Unsurprisingly, we need another Fortify. Lunatic-Reverse is extremely demanding on your healers, and that is not going to stop. But there's only 2 Fortify stabs in the whole game, so making sure I had enough uses for the whole route was a major concern. Belf needs a Vulnerary, and Beck is available for that, but that was more improvised than planned, and Minerva uses the Pure Water. These packs of enemies on the sides won't pull until you have units in range of both dragons, so we can set up inside the closer dragon's range. Both Leiden and Zane are going to need barrier buffs, as well as some healing. Now Beck is the dance target this turn, because he needs to be way closer to this left pack of enemies right now. These 2 dragons on the left, plus 2 more in the soon-to-be-revealed room north of them, need to be killed by Ninian, which is why I had to have at least 8 uses left at this point. Zane got his barrier buff, and now the dragons are gone, but what about this Dark Mage? Well, that's what Beck is for, because the Swordmasters have barriers, so he's the preferred target, and he can crit on counter with the Killer Bow. The right half is the same sort of deal. Palla goes first because she's holding Scorpio. Then Minerva does 3 important things. She gets Scorpio, equips the hand axe on Palla, and gives Pala the Pure Water, before the fourth important thing of doing big damage to the dragon, which Belf can finish off. Being able to skip forging this Wyrmslayer saved me a pretty penny. But dealing with these dark mages is an enormous pain in the ass, because they're just too far away to kill on this player phase, right? And they're blocking these one-tile wide hallways, which would prevent you from progressing into those rooms on the next player phase, unless you deal with them on enemy phase. That's the only option. Now, Fina has nothing to do this turn, because she has to stay near Marth, and Marth is just going to drop a save for us so that Beck can get his crit. And now, because Minerva used that Pure Water and equipped Pala's hand axe for her, Pala is the preferred target, and she gets a chunky counter. Now it's time for the big show. And this part's going to sound a little strange because I'm fast-forwarding through it. But what happens is, Marth steps on this special tile to make plot happen. All of our star shards get combined into the Star Sphere, which gives +2 to all stats except HP while held. And we also get the Light Sphere, which negates the terrain bonus of your target while you're holding it. Fina stuck around here to dance Marth right now, because we need to get that Star Sphere to Pala this turn. So Marth hands off the Star Sphere and Fina's Vulneraries to Militia. But Militia's Fortify needs to hit the left group as well, so we have to do the left group's turn first. And look, if Beck hadn't crit, he would need a heal right now before he could kill the mage, and no one is available to do that. So it was really the reversal mechanic forcing that crit. As it is, the way is clear, and our Swordmasters get to work. For her final dance, Ninian lands a big, unnecessary crit, but it doesn't matter at this point. Once again, Beck will be preferred over the Swordmasters after we get some healing out. Militia gives Pala the Vulneraries and the Star Sphere before dropping that big Fortify. Belf is able to clear the path for us, and there's absolutely no way we can push into this last room, so we need to employ proper AI management. Pala is now able to use the Pure Water, since the mages could only reach her at the choke point and not Minerva, don't have to worry about that. And these Vulneraries were actually a remnant of an earlier version of this, and didn't need to be here. Whoops. Now this chapter somehow wasn't considered fucked up enough already, so here's some reinforcements. I guess they're the ones we didn't kill at the end of chapter 13, I don't know. But check this out. Pala is able to survive this enemy phase, because the Choke Point Dragon attacks Minerva's lower defense at 2 range. And now with the Pure Water buff and the extra speed from the Star Sphere, Pala is just able to survive and take out both mages in the process. Pushing into these 2 rooms this quickly is one of the most difficult things in this whole playthrough, and my solution is really beautiful, honestly, but still, fuck this chapter. These long one-tile hallways are so difficult to deal with. And I haven't really talked about stat variation so far, so it's worth mentioning that the dragons only vary their HP, skill, and resistance, which was never relevant, but the dark mages have either 16 or 17 speed. With 16, Pala can double them at base, but everything in this video assumes that they all have 17 anyway. The mages can also vary their magic stat, but the 2 that just attacked Pala had the higher value, so her survival is indeed consistent. However, critically dependent on the Star Sphere and the Pure Water. Cleanup is pretty straightforward from this point, although Pala and Minerva need some healing to clear the way for Marth to recruit Tiki, who is a Manakete. I don't really like Manaketes as a concept. Classes that can't promote spoil a lot of the fun for me, but the more important point is that her 10 total speed is completely unusable. Julian finally reaches his major quarry, the Again Staff, ooh, and the reinforcements get ever closer to poor Fina trapped in that room. The room also has a chest with the Swordslayer, which deals effective damage to heroes and swordmasters, but even against those enemies, it's barely better than Mercurius, so I'm perfectly happy to leave it behind. Finally, Etzel rescues Marth so we can save a bunch turns and completely avoid fighting those reinforcements. This 12-turn clear is 5 turns faster than my vanilla hard 3 run, and only 3 of those are from the rescue. This chapter, being an unbearable pain in the ass, really pushed me to bring my absolute best. Every turn is so precise on the very edge of being possible, so it's a fantastic video. I just hate the chapter. Does that even make sense? Thanks for watching.